Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. On today's special bonus episode, just wanted to come and talk to you guys and maybe give you a little bit of encouragement for what is happening on in the world today. So let's get into it. Let's go. What's going on, RTC family? It's your host, Chris Fuller. And today on Saturday, which is kind of a weird day to be releasing an episode, I just wanted to hop on here. I know that I woke up this morning and there was quite a bit of news surrounding the internet this morning with the current events going on over in the Middle East. And so I know it has a lot of people freaked out and they're like, oh, is this World War III? Is this the end times? And so I wanted to come today and just do a quick, short little message with you guys and just really come and talk about what's going on over there. This isn't going to be a political show. This is just going to be talking about more or less why we should, in fact, continue to seek God in this very important time. So as we go about today's show and talk about this very heavy topic, we see that there's a lot of tensions going on in the United States and in Israel and in Iran especially. Things are escalating. Obviously, there was some attacks done by Israel, a joint attack done by Israel and the U.S. Against some Iranian places early this morning. And there has been counter strikes since then from Iran to multiple different areas. And so with all this military action and political rhetoric, a lot of global uncertainty, it really can feel overwhelming to us. And so social media can kind of magnify things. News alerts keep buzzing and all the coming in all the time. There's something new. I know my phone has been going off constantly with, oh, here's a new update. Here's a new update. And if we're not careful, I feel like fear can creep in where this uncertainty rests. And so I really want to talk about today as this is all going on of how should Christians respond in this time of calamity and uncertainty and political upheaval and all these military strikes that are going on. And I really wanted to talk about how our first response should be and always should be prayer. And scripture is pretty clear about this, right? We should be praying every day in our lives. Prayer should be that direct conversation. We read God's words. That's his words to us. That's him speaking to us, and our prayers to God. That's how we communicate with God. And 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17 says, pray constantly. It's just those two words, pray constantly. This is in the midst of a lot of turmoil going on that Paul's talking about praying and treating each other treating each other with love. Sorry. And so there's a lot of this going on, but right in the middle of all this, he talks about pray constantly, not occasionally, not when things are calm, but constantly. This should be a center focus throughout our day and in each part of our lives where we really sit down, take a deep breath, a moment of quiet and silence, and cry out to the Creator. And prayer is not passive. It's a spiritual engagement. It's this engagement with God. And so when these things are going on, when nations are raging and leaders are making decisions that affect millions, and there's casualties, innocent casualties, and there's all this uncertainty and upheaval, believers can step into the throne room of God and make their requests known. Right. And so what kind of things should we be praying for? What kind of requests should we be making for God? I think in this climate right now, it's really important for Christians to be praying for wisdom for the leadership going on, especially here for us in the United States, our U.S. leadership. We should be praying that it's not the will of the political leaders, but ultimately that the will of God be done in any of this that's going on. We should pray for just the wisdom for restraint and discernment between the U.S., Iranian, and Israeli officials, those leaders, that things don't get too out of hand. We should pray for protection over the innocent This has really been heavy on my heart, the innocent that are going to inevitably be hurt in this conflict that's going on. We need to pray for our brothers and sisters over in the Middle East right now. I know we have brothers and sisters in Iran and in Israel and in Jordan and all these nations that we have Christian brothers and sisters over there that are in potential harm's way, and we need to pray for God's protective hand over them, and that God can, in this moment of craziness and calamity, can reach out, protect them, and use them in the way in which he sees that needs to be done. And then we ultimately need to pray that God can orchestrate some sort of peace, overall peace. Now, we see that, and I can hear people saying right now, well, Chris, Fuller, in the end times, it says there's going to be wars and rumors of wars, and all these things must happen first, and then the end will come. That's what the Bible says, and absolutely I agree with you that at some point throughout history, Christ is going to return. What that looks like and those steps along the way, I'm not sure. I do know that there have been a lot of conflicts politically and nationally before. There's been a lot of wars and a lot of people hurt. And so I'm praying for myself, and I am praying for a peaceful resolution to all this conflict that's going on. Paul reminds us that in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, not to worry about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So this is, again, when we come boldly before the throne room of God, we can make our petitions known, and we should be praying for our brothers and sisters, for the innocent, and that God's will be done in all of this. And I don't want people to mistake me. I'm not saying God's will is that the Iranian regime be overthrown or not be overthrown. I'm not getting into the political side one way or the other. All I'm saying is that God's will, and whatever that may be done. We're not supposed to pretend that nothing is happening. We can't just, even though we're here in the Western world and going, oh, well, yes, there's bombs and strikes going on over in the Middle East. It's really not affecting my day-to-day life right now. It doesn't matter. We have brothers and sisters over there. We have God's work being done over there, and this is going to greatly affect that. And so we need to bring our petitions to God. We also, in all of this, need to just remember the sovereignty of God, right? And I don't want people to lose sight of who's in office. Is it Trump? Is it Biden, Obama? It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, God is sovereign, and this is why we bring our prayer of peace and also trust in God's sovereignty throughout this. As Christians, we should long for peace, right? We're called to be peacemakers according to Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. So we should pray boldly for peace and reconciliation in the world, and not for the world's sake, but so that they may come to know Christ. And that's what it means to really be a peacemaker. It's not to force something upon somebody, but it's to convince them to the truth in which Christ holds. And so we need to be seeking that. We need to be seeking to be peacemakers in this, and to present Christ and his gospel and the way of life to those who are ultimately not saved. Real faith kicks in when we trust God regardless of the circumstance, right? And especially in this unstable time where we're not really sure how all this is going to play out, remembering that God is sovereign and that he knows the beginning from the end. He knows what's going to happen next. We should be able to take some rest in that. And Psalm chapter 46 kind of gives us a perspective of some global turmoil that was happening back then. And the psalmist writes, God is our refuge and our strength, the helper who is found in these times of trouble. That's 46 verse 1. And just a few verses later, it says, stop fighting and know that I am God. That's Psalm 46, verse 10. That verse wasn't written in a time of peace. It was written in a time of national chaos. And the command was pretty clear: stop striving in fear and remember who is sovereign, and that is God. Our trust should be in the sovereignty of God, knowing that he holds everything in the palm of his hand. He knows what's going to happen. He allows things to happen. He can stop things from happening if it's his will. And it's really all about the sovereignty of God. He's not reacting to the headlines. He's not doing this. Well, I've got to change my perspective based upon history. God is God, and he is constant. And we should trust his sovereignty and know that he's in control, and that he knows the ultimate outcome. Now I can hear some of you guys saying like, Fuller, I hear you, but with all these wars and this is kind of leading to a big thing right here. It causes a lot of uncertainty. There's violence, there's hardships, and I'm kind of scared. And what should I do? I hear you saying pray, and I'm okay with that. I'm on board with that, but I'm kind of fearful right now. And so what I think we need to do is we need to refuse to live in that fear. And again, part of that is that prayer. Part of that is that trusting in God's sovereignty. And let's be honest, war talks really do trigger fear, right? Economic fear, safety fear, end time speculation fear. But we got to hold on to the promises that God has given to us. And in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and sound judgment." See, here's the thing. Fear distorts our thinking, right? So when we let fear creep in, we make decisions that may not be as clear as they should be. But faith produces clarity when we have that faith that God is sovereign and that he can take care of us in these times of calamity. That is where we have mental clarity in the situation. We have to remember that this situation is not the U.S. versus Iran. This is a situation of the holy versus the unholy. This is a situation of God and his will and the people of this earth not following God. The U.S., Israel, Iran, when you don't follow God, wars, violence, these things happen. I'm not saying that the U.S. and Israel are right for what they're doing in Iran, and I'm not saying they're not. What I'm saying is death, violence, murder, war, all come from the same root cause, and that cause is sin, right? And so that's the mental clarity we need to really be having, is that this is all a result because of the sin that is in the world that one day God will make right. He will make a new heavens and a new earth. Isaiah reminds us that God has to rest in God's sustaining peace, really. He said, "You will keep the mind that is dependent on you in perfect peace, for it is trusting in you." And that's Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. Notice the connection that peace comes through dependence and trust, right? So in order to get that peace, to get rid of that fear, to dispel that fear, that we have to have dependence on God and trust God fully, that he knows what he's doing, that this is nothing new under the sun, that there's been wars, there's been violence before. Not that it's right, not that it's good, but these things have already happened, and nothing surprises God. And so we need to trust in him, and that when we trust in him fully and put our faith in God, the creator and the person, the being that is in control of all things, that no political alliance, nothing under the sun can ever change the will of God. We just have to trust in the one who controls all things. The big thing to remember is that God is in control. Even in global conflict, even when the alliances are shifting back and forth, even when threats escalate, God remains on the throne. Romans reminds us that God is actively working. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 says, we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. All things, including geopolitical tensions. Nothing happening right now is outside of God's sovereignty. Nothing surprises him. Nothing threatens him, his ultimate purpose, and ultimately what is going to happen in the end. And Jesus himself told his disciples plainly, "You will have suffering in this world. Be courageous. I have conquered the world." John chapter 16, verse 33. Notice he didn't say that there wasn't going to be turmoil. But he promises in the end that there is going to be victory, and it's going to be his victory on this earth when all sin is done away with and all things are made new. I appreciate you all hanging out with me for this short episode, this bonus episode here on this Saturday afternoon. I pray for the issues going on over in the Middle East right now, that God's will be done in all of this. I pray for you right now that if you're having this anxiety or this fear over what may happen, that you may find peace in the faith that you have in God, who is sovereign and in control of all things. I hope that you guys are able to take some solace in that, and take some solace in some of these promises of God and some of the scriptures that I've shared with you today. I really do hope that God's will be done in this, and that peace can come from this. and that the innocent are protected, our brothers and sisters. I hope you will join with me in praying for the protection of our brothers and sisters over in the Middle East. If you haven't checked us out already, go ahead and check us out on Real Talk Christian Podcast.com. There you can take a look at our vast library of different episodes that we've produced throughout the years. You can also check us out on the Facebook group, Real Talk Christian Podcast Community. Maybe you're feeling like, hey, I need to talk to some other brothers and sisters. We have a whole community page there of other believers that are willing to pray with you and talk with you if you're feeling fear or anxiety over these things. If you haven't checked us out on our YouTube and would like to go ahead over there, go over to YouTube, Real Talk Christian Podcast, and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification, because like today, you never know when we might be jumping on for something. So I just want to let you guys know we love you. We're praying for this situation that's happening over in the Middle East. We're praying for you, and we're praying ultimately that God's will be done. Until next time, take it easy.